So, I'm a drummer, and I love, and I mean love, Robin from Honkai Star Rail. We've got a brand new album featuring 3 songs, Sway to My Beat and Cosmos, If I Can Stop One Heart from Breaking, and Hope is the Thing with Wings. We're going to be listening to all 3 of these songs, breaking them down from a drummer's point of view. Now, this is going to be pretty fun because we know from her demo and from just hearing the songs in the game, they're very pop sensitive, which happens to be like my specialized genre as a drummer myself from when I was playing music live. So I'm really excited for this. If you enjoy the video, be sure to leave a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Let's jump on in. All right, we're going to start with Sway to My Beat in Cosmos. This is the song that plays during her ult in game and also what played in her character trailer prior to release. This is definitely the most pop sensitive song from the album. So I'm really excited to kind of break down the techniques that they use here. So it's a pop song. We're going to have a very standard structuring here, right? We're on verse 1. How about a pre-chorus? Yes. And we're going to go right into the chorus. And it starts with the hook right off the rip, you know? Immediately, that very first line gets stuck in your head. It's just so fun and so poppy. A little bit of an instrumental turnaround, right? Like half a measure. Off the ground and tap your feet. Look, stars are near when you feel the beat. All right, so let's talk about that for a second. I talked about this in the character trailer, and essentially what you do in pop music is the first verse is meant to be as easily consumed as possible. The idea behind pop music is to appeal to as wide of an audience as you possibly can and just be easy, fun listening. So verse number 1, they keep it pretty straight. You know, they keep it on the straight and narrow. And then the same thing usually applies to the first chorus as well. And honestly, usually the second chorus in addition to that. The chorus is always going to be as easily consumed as possible. That is the point of pop music. So verse number 1, pretty straightforward. Chorus number 1, pretty straightforward. Chorus number 2, in a lot of songs, we're going to get a little bit of a mix-up. And specifically in this song, I catch it pretty easily. It's the percussion that's mixing it up. And we get that right from the very, very start of the verse. Let's run it back there real quick. The ground and tap your feet. Look, stars are near when you feel the beat. We're bound for great. So you get a little stop and go right there. And that's in contrast to the first verse. Let's circle back to that and hear how they start verse number 1 at the start of the song. Okay. See what I'm saying here? They come right in with the drum beat. And especially at the very, very start, it's just your basic 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Kick, snare. Kick, snare. The most basic drum beat you can possibly go with. Because again, it is meant to be consumed as easily as possible. So in the second verse, after that first chorus, you're getting a little dun, 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 shaking it up. And then they circle back to that original beat, which brings in the sense of familiarity, makes you naturally comfortable with the song. That was the wrong section. I accidentally jumped back into the first chorus. Where is the second verse? We'll find it. Here we go. Then you're kind of like, oh, that's fun. And then all of a sudden, you're bobbing your head. And you're just into it. Another interesting technique that they use in the second verse that I didn't notice in the first verse, it might be in there and maybe it's just more subtle, but it's a technique. I talked about this in the trailer again. The percussion, you can change what sounds you use for the percussion even on a very simple kick, snare, drum beat. And usually it's highly encouraged. You see this a lot in R&B and pop. And then especially in like R&B fused pop or R&B inspired pop. Michael Jackson was a masterclass when it came to utilizing this technique. Because what they will use is they'll go kick, snare, and a clap. Or kick, snare, and a snap. And in this song, we get just the snare on its own, kick on its own, and then snare and something else. And that just adds the slightest bit of variation in the song to keep it fun and exciting, because the issue people can run into with pop music is they will make it way too generalized and it becomes boring and stale and it's not fun. One of the big things with pop is it needs to be fun. And so you use fun sounds when you do that. So like a quick little clap, a snap, a tambourine, maybe even like a cowbell or a triangle, like fun, bright noises that catch the ear's attention without drawing away from the main melody or what you want people to really focus on, but it still creates a little bit of extra stimulation to keep them hooked. All right, so that was the first chorus. Second verse again here, right? And wait for that snare to come back in. Listen for it. Snare. If you're listening with headphones, you can probably pick it up. If you're not listening with headphones, it might be hard to catch, but essentially what we've got here is on the first snare hit, it's just the snare. On the second snare hit, it's a tambourine. Again, a bright, snappy, vibrant sound just to add in a little bit of variation. Listen for that again. Snare, tambourine, snare, tambourine. Super smart. All right, we're feeling good and familiar again, pre-chorus. So now with the snare, you've got claps, right? So we're on the chorus. This is a part that the audience is meant to be engaged in. You're meant to sing with this. If you're watching it live, you better believe you're clapping on cue with the snare right there. And so this is a cool section. We're going to talk about why that's cool. So in pop, I talked about you have a very, very common song structuring. Verse 1, chorus 1, verse 2, chorus 2, bridge. Almost always a bridge of some sort. And then that's going to lead into your final chorus or set of choruses. So the bridge here isn't vocal. It's barely vocal. You've got a little bit of ad-libbing going on, just following the melody. It's almost entirely instrumental, and at the end of the day, what the bridge is supposed to do is it's supposed to create a bit of a break from what you were accustomed to in the first half of the song and transition into something a little bit more exciting. For a lot of people, they will build back into the chorus, and whether they keep the chorus the exact same or they spice it up with some extra stuff, like maybe a little bit of an extra guitar lick or a walk on the synthesizer or the bass line, you know, it's really common, and that's what a lot of people do because it's just a natural progression to go into a bridge, which will oftentimes kind of like pull back from the song, and then you build, and you're back into the last chorus, which it can be the exact same as the first two choruses. Oftentimes, you're going to see a mix-up of some sort. We'll talk about what that mix-up is in this song when we get to there, but I think that the use of a essentially just instrumental bridge to create a little bit of separation while they build you back in is really cool. So here we go. A little bit of ad-libbing. It's beautiful. It's vibey. So check this out. Build up. It's a drop chorus. You've just got those claps, right? Just got those claps. The only thing different here is they've taken out some of the sections of instrumentation. And here's where we go up. Key change. So we talk about in the last chorus, you want some sort of a mix-up to create a proper climax to the song. They lead with the drawn back. I gotta pause. We'll come back to that. They lead in with a pulled back bridge, softer, quiet, instrumental, and then a drop chorus, which is just the chorus with less instrumentation, usually just percussion and something else in there for a little bit of extra sound. I think they have like a little bit of like that kind of like slappy guitar, which is actually very like percussion driven when you play guitar that way. And then they go into the final chorus, which is a key change, which always gets everyone excited. I feel like key changes are the single most underutilized function of a song. I love key changes. They get me way fired up. So we get the key change, and then on top of that, we get a little percussive break right in the middle of the chorus, just like the one that we got in the second verse. And they're employing the same idea of giving you just a little mix-up, just a little something to keep you on your toes, and then you close out with the nice, comfy chorus that everybody knows and loves. Right here. Right. And that is how you do a damn fine pop song. Well done. And that really is just a great example of like pure pop music. It's made to make you feel good, and it really does feel good. You know what else feels good? Paying my bills. Let's hear a word from today's sponsor. Grab your friends and start a guild, because Guild of Guardians is launching globally on May 15th. Designed specifically for mobile devices, Guild of Guardians is taking a premier roguelite squad RPG experience and putting the power in your hands, literally. Gamers, well, they know what's good, and that's why over 1 million of them pre-registered in anticipation for this brand new game. You like great graphics? Good. You like deep combat systems? Good. You like exploring dungeons with roguelite mechanics and tons of collectibles and rewards to earn while admiring the assets of great-looking cast of characters? Of course you do. Guild of Guardians is made to go with you and move with the flow of your life. Take it to the bathroom at work and bust out a quick objective to claim rewards on company time. Working hard or hardly working, am I right? Tell your friends you're busy so you don't have to socialize, then stay home and spend hours exploring the rich story and mastering the deep combat system. You don't have to make time for Guild of Guardians. It makes time for you. There's a handy link in the video description that will take you right to a download for the game. Go check it out and tell them Uncle Samizard sent you. Thank you, Guild of Guardians, for keeping my lights on. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so now we're going to have a little bit of a tonal shift from that slap happy pop song to If I Can Stop One Heart from Breaking. And now, fair warning, this is an official upload from the Honkai Star Rail channel, and they do have some gameplay footage in here. The same is true for the next song and the final song that we'll listen to. So if you haven't played the story quest yet, you might get spoilers. I haven't watched these yet, so I don't know what kind of footage is there.
With no shackles, then what fetters my fate?
And now we know this song is pretty familiar for players who have been playing since version 2.0. This version is a little bit different from what we got in the game, like from the game files when people were like ripping the audio and doing their own uploads. And it's pretty neat. And essentially, it's still pop. It's still following that same structure. Oh my god, who doesn't love that shot? Everybody loves that shot. Verse 1, pre-chorus, chorus. What's really smart about the way that they compose this song is even on the chorus, because it's a slower and more open-ended experience, they actually build you in and essentially go through two different phases within just that one single chorus at the start. Let's check this out. It immediately goes into, again, another drop chorus. And what it does, it gives the song room to breathe. A gentle build. They're bringing in the strings, a little bit of light percussion in the background if you can hear that, just like a snare hit or two. The piano's more active. Makes for a really dynamic chorus. And we're going to, again, follow the same structure. We're going into the second verse here. And all of a sudden you have more musical elements coming in, as we discussed. Verse number 1 is supposed to set the mood and get you comfortable. Verse number 2 is where they can play around a little bit more. You got more piano, these beautiful strings. They're like sad and beautiful in a way. And here's that pre-chorus coming back, but again, it's verse 2, so we're allowed to get a little sexy with verse 2, and that's exactly what they do. Woo! Drama from the piano.
Then my heart brave and spread the wings, soaring past the night to trace the primal light. Let the clouds heal me of their stains.
So, a lot of interesting techniques are used in that chorus to give it a different vibe from the first chorus. This song has a lot of growth to it, and I think that's really, really cool, especially since it's a slower, more emotional song. But so what we've got is they didn't want to just copy paste the first chorus. So they've mixed it up, but they also don't want it to be overly lively or overly energetic. At the end of the day, this is supposed to be a sad song. So listen to what they do on that chorus. First thing you're going to notice, they bring in a proper drum beat with a drum kit, but it's in halftime. So we'll count the song and then we'll count the drum beat. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you listen to the drums, they're essentially moving at half speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you've still got your basic kick hits and your snare hits, but the drums are moving at, I should say, what feels like halftime, what feels like a slower pace. That may not be the case. I don't know what the actual tempo for this song is, but one thing that they do to stop it from feeling like overly open and overly stagnant is they add in that acoustic guitar. This is pop music. It still wants to have like a nice vibe to it. It doesn't have to be just all sad and slow and drawn out. So when you bring in the acoustic guitar on rhythm, you see this utilized a lot in like church and worship music. They'll bring that in just to add a little bit more of like a aspect of rhythm and percussion while letting the drums stay pulled back. Again, we're creating room to breathe and then taking up that space with the acoustic guitar. Check it out. Right, so you got like a pop, boom, boom, pop, boom, boom. Those are the drums. But acoustic guitar, you've got this. You take that pattern on the acoustic guitar and put it on a tambourine or a shaker or even on the hi-hats, and you're going to create a lot more movement. So they're creating movement with different instrumentation to fill it out. Super smart. I love that.
Then my heart bravely spread the wings, soaring past the night to trace.
And then the build up, right? So we talked on the last song. How do they create a climax in the final chorus? That's how. That's how they create a climax. A, you start with the drop chorus. B, you build into it. And once you're in that final chorus, what do you do to make it stand out? Here we've got Chevy, the artist responsible for the singing, the singing voice actress for Robin, if that's the proper phrasing. They give her this just really nice, pleasant vocal embellishment. Let her fill out the space in the song, not just the instrumentation. A little instrumental bridge. Drop chorus. Everything pulls back. The focus is on the lyrics, right? Really cool piano playing there. That embellishment, big drum fill. Then if we want to talk about how you grow that final chorus in comparison to the prior two, drums here are a great example because they're using an acoustic drum kit. Literally all they did was play with the hi-hats open and sloshing rather than playing with the hi-hats closed. I don't think that the snare or kick pattern changed at all right there. Literally all they did was open the hi-hats a little. And in addition to the vocal embellishments and the drop chorus prior, it just really creates this sense of scope within the song, which is really cool. So let's move on to the last one, and admittedly, my personal favorite, Hope is the Thing with Feathers. So this song, oddly enough, is a combination of the prior two songs. What do you mean by that, Samizard? Well, I'll tell you what I mean by that. Hang on, though. Song number 1, pure pop, pure fun. Doesn't freaking matter. Not a care in the world. Put it on and have a great time with the gang, right? Song number 2, slow, somber, sad, dare we say spiritual? This is something that I relate to because I have a lot of experience playing for like conventions and churches and stuff and playing that kind of music, like, you know, the modern era of arena worship music, if that's what you want to call it. And lots of similar techniques from that style of music used in If I Can Stop One Heart From Breaking. And wait till you hear the techniques that they use in this song, because it's combining elements from everything that they did prior and putting it into one absolutely epic experience. I love this song. Oh, that guitar is so sick. Four on the floor. If you want to talk about getting comfy in a song, the best thing you can do is take the drum beat and just make it 4 on the floor. You just immediately start bobbing your head, right? We're going to talk about that. Woo! Zipe, my queen, what's good? I almost hate to interrupt it because that's an amazing pre-chorus. So let's talk about the drums on verse number 1 because it is masterful. We start with the 4 on the floor. If you listen, you've got the hi-hats in there too, counting the main beat. We'll try and count along with that as we hear it. And so then you've got 2 halves to the verse. The first half, you just got the hi-hat and the kick drum. Like immediately, you're like, oh, we're moving, we're bobbing, we're having a good time. This is pop music. It's easy. And then in the second half, they add in on every other measure a snare and a quick little tom fill. And what that is doing is it's just creating a little bit of variation. We've talked about in the last several songs, just a little bit, just enough. And what makes this unique is that in the first 2 songs, we talked about verse number 1, keep it as simple and as cut and as dry as possible to make it as comfortable as possible. That's not what they do here. They immediately go in the second half of that first verse with these little like percussive mix-ups with the snare and the tom rolls. And I think what they are doing is they have the freedom to do that because they fall back on the single most comfortable technique in music, which is 4 on the floor. 4 kick drum hits. That's all you need. 1, 2, 3, 4. And everybody loves that. Everybody loves that. So you listen to that with the hi-hat counting to it, and then listen for the mix-up on the second half. The mix-up doesn't feel like jarring or out of place, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hi-hats, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? It's going at double the speed. Here. And the little room to breathe. Right there. Room to breathe again. Cymbal. And it creates like a build. Pre-chorus. Drop it down, scale it back. There's a lot of energy on the first verse. Tone it down, let everybody breathe, because the chorus is about to take us for a ride. Oh my God, I can't wait. Back to 4 on the floor. Now, again, we're back to the claps, right? This song is obviously recorded for a studio audience. You know, it's recorded as part of a video game. The song is meant to be experienced in your room with your headphones on, period. But they are adding scale by adding in those claps, just like they did in Sway to the Beat, the very first song that we listened to. Claps are meant to be done by large groups of people. And I don't know about you guys, I've been listening to this song, I'll just be sitting in my truck and I'll just be like bopping on my steering wheel with those claps. It just gets you into the song and it makes you like feel. And if you've ever been in like a live audience and like been there as they are clapping with the song, whether it's like a big concert, a small venue, anything like that, man, there's just something about it. And so when they put that into the song deliberately, it's to entice this feeling of scale and excitement. And it works for me. This song, like basically every technique they use in the song really, really works for me. And that's probably why I love it as much as I do. So good, man. I don't know if you can hear that. So, did you catch that? On drums, they're utilizing the exact same technique that they used on verse number 1. So we talked about how generally verse number 1 is supposed to be as comfy as possible. It's supposed to set the expectation for the song. And we talked about how in the first half, it was very cut and dry, very straightforward. Then all of a sudden they add in that little drumming mix-up. Well, they bring it back into the chorus, and they follow the exact same pattern. The first half of the chorus is just kick drum and claps. 4 on the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Damn, that hurts. Okay, note self. No more clapping. But then on the second half of the chorus, they just repeat the chorus. The lyrics might be slightly different, but as far as the composition and the instrumentation goes, it's just repeated. But then every other measure, you got the doom, 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 doom. You know, I don't remember what the exact pattern is, but now they're not using the snare. They're using the toms. Well, gee, why aren't they using the snare they did in the first verse? Because you've already got the claps on the chorus, right? The claps are your high-pitched percussion. They are there to grab your attention. So we don't need to hit the snare here. We can, as we talked about in the first song, you can combine snare and claps, and it creates a neat dynamic. But here they chose not to. They're going for big, heavy, deep tom-toms, and it's really, really cool. Again, I hope you have headphones in to really like get the full scope of this. Here it comes. Nothing there, right? And then we're back. Nothing here. Nothing here. Then however they build. Wait a second. This isn't the full version of the song. Whoa, wait a second. No, hang on. I'm watching the official video from the YouTube channel, but this is not the full version of the song. No. They skipped verse number 2. Okay, we're going to have to change this up and pull up the song elsewhere and listen to it, because verse number 2 is possibly my favorite part of the song. We're going to lose the cool little video element here, but that's okay. That's fine. We can live with that. We have to hear verse number 2 because it's a great example of using percussion to completely change the vibe of the song. Like as a drummer, I vibe with it big time. Hang on, let me get that pulled up real quick. All right, I've got the full version of the song pulled up here. We're going to pick up from the second half of that first chorus and go into the second verse because it just blends perfectly. Check this out. Check out this verse, bro. Halftime, right? And the little percussive mix-up, we talked about it in the first song. It's verse number 2. Get sexy with it. Have a little bit of fun. You know, don't be tied down by what you did in the first verse. Verse number 2 is where you get to shine. It's where you get to have some fun. And it's interesting that they opted to go for a halftime feel, because you've got the first verse right here, right? Check that out. Immediately comes in 4 on the floor.
We rise together as our destiny unfolds.
Right? That's all that you need. You go into the second verse and it gives you a halftime feel and it really opens up the song. And I think the reason they do that is to give us a moment to breathe, to kind of catch our breath. And also, halftime is always cool, and it's not the only time that they use halftime techniques in this song. Let's go back to verse number 2. And the drumming is immaculate here. This is the first half of the verse, right? What do they do on the second half? They go back to it. 4 on the floor and that little snare and tom, just like they did on the first verse. But then, this is why we had to listen to verse number 2. Verse number 2 is insane. So they go back to that same snare and tom pattern that they do in the first verse. It's the same pattern they do with just the toms and the chorus. That feels nice and familiar. We're back to our 4 on the floor. But what do they do? How are you going to build back into the next chorus without using a pre-chorus? Well, let the drums do all the hard work. All of a sudden, instead of just the 4 on the floor and that random little snare, well, it's not random, but you know, that sudden little snare tom fill, they go to 4 on the floor and then bringing in the snares 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And by doing that, they're not changing the tempo, but by adding in the snare on the 2s and the 4s, it just makes it feel like all of a sudden, like, did something get faster? Did something get louder? What happened? Because they're just completing the beat. You've already got 4 on the floor, add in the snares, and you've got a full beat. And it just, the way that they do that and use that to build into the second chorus is so smart. Right here. That's so smart, man. It's so good. I don't know who played drums for this song, but they absolutely killed it. We already know the chorus. We don't got to talk about it. Just listen to it. It's the bridge. And what are they going to do on the bridge? Here's the instrumental build-up. And guess what? We're going back to halftime. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How do we build back into the chorus from here? I'll tell you how. Break the halftime and go back to full time with the drum fill. It's so damn good. Anybody notice what's different about the drums in this section? They're not doing just 4 on the floor. They grow off of the technique that they used in verse number 2. And instead of just doing 4 on the floor, they bring in the snare on the 2 and the 4 to give it that extra little and like you're already juiced and you're going. You get the halftime breakdown on the bridge and they come right back into that, and it's so big and loud and full, and it's just perfectly executed. I love this song. Halftime, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So good. I mean, come on. I love it.
Break free, we chased our dreams beneath the starry night. In the face of God, we rose as one.
I don't know what more to say. That's amazing. That's an amazing ass song. All right, so that's Robin's album, man. I can't say enough good things about it. I just think they really nailed this. All 3 of these songs are played in game, and it's so cool how they did it, and it just created this vibe. And it's not just like basic brain dead pop music. I'll be the first to say the bar for Hoyo Mix is generally very high, and for them to come in and do pop music out of the blue and it still have that depth and that excitement that they give with all the other kinds of music and genres of music that they make, I'm really really impressed. I just think they did a wonderful job here. I know it sounds like I'm riding right now, but I swear to you, I'm not riding them. It's just good music. As a drummer and as a pop music enjoyer, I loved this. Hope you enjoyed this little journey through Robin's album. If you did, of course, leave a thumbs up. Subscribe for more. You can join our Discord server. Follow me on Twitter. Links to everything are in the description below. Catch you on the next video. Love the games. Love yourself. And I love you. Bye.